Hi everyone, Kevin Smiley here from Abilene Middle School talking about the internet use violations for the case study that we've got working on here for Module 6. First off, Category 1, problem identification and analysis. And what do we know based upon this scenario? First off, a web page has been created to intimidate Mrs. Walker with some bits of slander and some threatening remarks have been made. Ms. Walker teaches numerous difficult courses at a very competitive school, that we know. We know that she has not implemented strategies given to her by Dr. Forbes to help create more student engagement and alleviate some of the stress that those students are feeling in those competitive, very challenging classes. Dr. Forbes has received numerous complaints about Mrs. Walker over an extended period of time, so the threats in the website don't necessarily have to come from a more recent altercation or event. They could have come from someone from a while ago. We know that Miss Walker feels threatens and desires to include the police. And if you include the police, then that's going to include the media, so you want to kind of try to avoid involving the police if you can. We know that Dr. Forbes has 9 years of experience as the building administrator. He's got the respect of his staff and the community, so he's probably been doing a very good job for almost a decade now. So I'm going to trust his instincts here and what he wants to do. We know that most students at Roosevelt High School have the latest technology, which means many of them are likely proficient in creating a web page, though Mrs. Walker thinks that the student, Randy, often has to help the kids with their things in class. Many of them probably know how to make a Facebook page or a simple website that could have been created in this case. And we know that Miss Walker suspects the student, Randy, whom she admits she has never caught doing anything wrong. She believes he's the instigator, but she's never really caught him actually doing anything. What do you need to know? First, I need to know if Miss Walker has had any recent run-ins with student or parents. I need to know if she recently entered grades that could have negatively impacted student GPA. I need to know if any of the comments that are on the website or on the web page reflect one subject in particular. She's teaching 3 different courses. Do the comments made in there reflect more of one course over another, which would give me some bit of evidence or some clues as to maybe what class or what students from which class may be the first suspects. I need to know if the district technologist can track the email. I need to determine if the web page constitutes slander and is worthy of prosecution if a student is caught for creating this. I need to know if Miss Walker would be comfortable staying in a guest room at my house and not driving 3 hours away to her parents. I feel that would be a very nice thing to do, rather than her get right back in the car and drive 3 hours home while she's distressed and she's scared and she's angry and all those emotions that are obviously going to go through her head. I'd rather say just drive 10 minutes to my house. You can stay here. We can start problem solving. We can start figuring this out. And then in the morning, you'll be fresh and we'll be ready to get back to work. So I don't want her spending another 6 hours in the car driving home and back just because of this situation. Identifying the problem. The first problem is how to identify who created the site and if I have the jurisdiction or the power to get it taken down. The second problem, sorry about that, that's the bell. The second problem is how to help Mrs. Walker solve this problem and save face. We want her to be able to return to the classroom and continue to implement the strategies given to her by Dr. Forbes. The third problem is how to discipline the perpetrator without completely damaging their resume for college applications. If this was created by a student, we don't want to, have to have some really long suspension or really big fallout from this. It's going to impact their college applications very seriously. So how can I solve the problem, discipline a student without ruining their future, understanding that kids make mistakes? Category 2, my proposed plan of action with the appropriate strategies for implementation. My proposed plan of action. This all took place on a Sunday afternoon. On Monday, I will ask Miss Walker to return to class and teach as if the event does not necessarily bother her. In the morning, I will call the district technologist first thing and ask them to begin tracking the email if they can. or figuring out who created the website if they can. While the technologists are doing this, I will go to each of Miss Walker's classes and ask if any student is willing to come forward with information on who created the site. I will reiterate my support for Miss Walker and her commitment to students, that she is here to teach them and she wants to challenge them and prepare them for their futures. I understand if they're stressed about school, but they've got to understand that she is doing her best to prepare them for the future. Let's see, I will inform the students that we have district technology staff working to find out the origin of the site. And if it is tracked to a student, they will receive a lesser consequence if they take responsibility for it before the end of the school day. I want to give them a chance to fess up, admit to their mistake, come to me and say they did it before we have to expend all of our resources trying to figure it out on our own. My point in that is if they are willing to fess up and admit their mistake, I will give them a much lesser consequence for this, and like I said, hopefully be able to save face for them on their college applications in the future, not have to have some extended suspension on their transcript and stuff. So category 3, resolving the issue based on promoting the success of all students. What is best for students? First, I would like to see Miss Walker to return to class so that students who do respect her can see that we all have to face our fears in life, even in extremely difficult situations. I would profess this learning moment to Miss Walker as well, as it's a great teaching moment to her students. If she can do this, then she can meet Standard 2 and take a large step in her staff professional growth. Second, I would go into each of Miss Walker's classes to show my support so students can see that I believe in her as a teacher and that she has a lot to offer the students. By doing this, I too will meet Standard 2 in helping Miss Walker grow as a professional. Finally, by offering the perpetrator a chance to confess before they are discovered through other channels, I would be more lenient on them for their mistake and less likely to issue extended consequences. With this fair offer, I would meet Standard 5, showing that I understand that students make mistakes sometimes and that I can respond with fairness when they allow me. Category 4, debriefing the problem. What was I thinking, feeling, and valuing? My first thought was for the safety and confidence of Miss Walker. She has obviously put a lot of work into becoming an educated professional before beginning her work as a classroom teacher. I would not want something like this to scare her out of the rewards of a career in teaching. Second, I was worried about the consequences that I would have to put on a student if they were found out to have created the site. With the impact an extended suspension can have on a student's college application, I would not like to be forced to follow through on such actions if a student was found guilty before they confessed. Finally, I was concerned about the fallout of the event and its impact on Miss Walker's teaching and classroom management. If she displays a new fear of her students, they will likely begin to walk all over her. If she is able to respond calmly and understand that not all students will like their teachers, she can save face and continue to grow as a professional. So what I was thinking was the concern about Miss Walker's safety in the first place, that someone is not literally out to harm her physically. I was thinking about Miss Walker's confidence and how can I keep her confident in her teaching practices and in her belief in herself as a good educator. And then I was thinking about student consequences and how can I do this fairly and reasonably without scarring this child's future for life. What was I feeling? I was feeling frustrated with the cyberbullying and the ease of which students and people can attack others online. I was feeling a little bit of animosity towards Miss Walker. It appears that Dr. Forbes has been working with her for a long time to give her strategies and techniques to improve her teaching practices, to alleviate that stress of students and herself, and to improve engagement in the classroom so that she can have more positive relationships. She has not done that, even though he has tried for apparently about 1.5 years now, I think was the story. And then I was feeling worried about a parent cover-up. If a student made this, a parent could easily step in and say, a student probably made this at home. So a parent could easily then step in and say, "Oh, I made it at home on the home computer. It wasn't the kid. Don't suspend the kid. It was me." And it probably gets ended up as, "We'll take it down," and that's the end of it. You're probably not going to prosecute another adult for this site in the long run. So I'm worried that a parent would be willing to step in and take the punishment for their kid, and therefore not teaching the kid a lesson, not allowing us to teach the kid a lesson for their behavior. I was valuing Miss Walker's future in the school. She's obviously worked very hard and has a commitment to teaching and her students. She sounds like someone I really would like in the building. She just needs to work on her teaching style and her approach. I was valuing the students' future. It sounds like there's a lot of committed students at the school and that have a solid future for that, and so I want them to do well. And what was that? Somehow that blanked over. Sorry about that. But that's what I was thinking, feeling, and valuing. Unresolved issues. The first unresolved issue is who created the web page. If a student does not confess and the district technician is not able to track the creator, what possible steps can I take from there to find the culprit? Second, can I tactfully use this as a learning opportunity for Ms. Walker to change her teaching philosophy so she and her students are less stressed and more engaged, so each has a better opportunity for success in the future? Finally, despite how the situation ends, what impact will it have on all classroom environments in the building, in my building, and teacher trust in their students? I do not want this event to linger and create a contentious relationship between students and staff. So this can definitely linger out there and affect the whole school, not just Miss Walker and her kids. So don't want that to happen. Category 5, reflecting on Standard 5. I believe I demonstrated integrity and ethical behavior, first off, by offering Miss Walker an opportunity to stay at my home rather than drive 3 hours to her parents, 3 hours back in the morning, and expect her to get going again. If she accepts, we can begin the problem-solving process and show my support for her. Second, by going into her classroom to support Miss Walker upholds integrity of her work and her commitment to students. Finally, offering students a chance to confess before being caught in exchange for reduced consequences is understanding that kids make mistakes sometimes and our actions can get the best of our emotions, and they just need to learn from that they made the mistake and are willing to accept it. I believe I treated people fairly, equitably, and with dignity and respect because the students are being treated fairly because they have a chance to confess and receive reduced consequences. Ms. Walker is being treated with respect because even though she has not implemented my ideas to reduce stress, I'm going to work diligently to get to the bottom of this event. Finally, the students are being treated fairly because I am not going to investigate a single student based on Ms. Walker's accusations. What I mean by that I don't think I've said already, is I'm not going to call Randy in and a couple of his friends and ask them who did this. Ms. Walker thinks it's him, but as we did mention earlier, she's never caught him doing anything wrong. And I have no information on Randy's prior record within the school and his disciplinary record. She might think he's a little squirrely and a little rambunctious, maybe even an instigator, but if he's never been in trouble, then I'm not going to call him in and investigate him for such a serious matter until I have some more evidence that he may have been involved. I think that's treating him with respect and dignity and fairly. I demonstrate the code of ethics. First, it is unethical to investigate a student based on teacher assumption. With no real evidence of his misbehavior, I have nothing else to prove he has a history of office referrals. I believe that is professional and ethical. Second, it is ethical of me to offer the student a chance to learn from their mistakes and confess. We all make mistakes, some bigger than others, but the first step to becoming a better person is knowing when we have done that and accepting the consequences. Finally, I demonstrate personal ethics by not letting Miss Walker drive 3 hours back to her parents in a scared and frustrated state of mind. That could be more dangerous than anything. So that's my ideas on the case study there and the fallout from it and how I would approach it. It would even be a little bit different from Dr. Forbes in that I wouldn't call Randy straight to my office and investigate him. I'd wait till I had some more evidence on any student in particular before calling him in on such a serious matter. And overall, this could be something we'll all have to deal with someday, so I like it as a case study and think it's something that's necessary to think about of how you would proceed when this probably does happen in the future of our administrative careers. So good luck to all you out there, and enjoy.